Hi. We'll wait for the audio-visual portion of the presentation because I'm very heavily reliant on, I don't have a bunch of people working with me, so I'm reliant on my images. So I'm here to talk about Franklin, which is my new quilting fabric collection, and also my modern solids program. Ooh, perfect. Is that okay? Are people scared by the dark? It's much easier to see the images. Franklin has 24 SKUs, and as with all my collections, it's named after a town in Massachusetts. Why? Because I grew up in central Massachusetts, and early on, I spent a lot of time naming a collection, and Joyce told me that I came up with Patchwork Promenade or something like that, and Joyce told me that Anna Maria already had something really similar, so I had to choose another name. So from then on, I started using the names of towns. I also have this really beautiful old book from the 40s of all the textile mill towns in New England. So I grew up in central Massachusetts surrounded by these mills, and it's very much a part of who I am and sort of the landscape of my growing up. And this collection, Franklin is, you can go to the next one. Franklin is a town in Massachusetts that has been around for a really long time, and they have one of the, you can go to the next one, one of the oldest public libraries, or the oldest public library in the United States. And they named their town after Benjamin Franklin, who donated several of his books, and they still have the collection. You can go to the next one there. And I love that sort of history, and I love that it's, you can go to the next. Oh, okay. And they're also really crafty, apparently, at this library. I love that they're teaching duct tape beach bags. But more than being a town, and you can just scroll through them, my mom, every week of my life growing up, she went to the library. And she also really liked plaid, so if you ever wonder why, this is an outfit I think she made for herself. She grew up sewing. She's the one who taught me how to sew. And the fact, I didn't think about it much until, there's the plaid. I didn't think about it much until later that, not everybody's mother just, as part of the shopping, almost a plaid, it's a gingham. This is her in shop in high school. So she was somebody who, Tula was talking about Queen Elizabeth and how kind of amazing she was. And my mother was also kind of ahead of her time. She was a feminist without calling attention to it. She was 39 when she had me. She was a tomboy. Her wedding gift to my dad when they got married was a fly rod that she made herself. She wasn't a great cook, but she was very smart. She had 2 master's degrees. I'm the smallest, and she made a lot of our clothes, so she made my sister and my matching outfit. But the fact that she went back to school, she was working full-time, and she didn't talk about it like, hey, I'm this amazing woman. It was just a part of who she was, and as a role model, I love her, those wood glasses. I wish I could get those. And she was wise and kind. All my friends always wanted to talk to her for advice. I have this fondness for small town libraries that I know comes from spending time with her and going to the library and just appreciating that. So Franklin, you can go to the next, is a collection that to me kind of evokes that comfort, the idea of what the library holds, this sense of adventure and possibility in all the books that you can read. Also, those old books that have the beautiful end papers, that zigzag dash kind of reminds me of that. And as with all my collections, I always like to have a mixture of large-scale prints, small-scale, calico-y type things, and the plaid. Now you know where that comes from, a stripe. And I love the printed plaids, especially on the bias, because it's something you can't weave. You can print it, but you can't weave it like that. So I also have 2 new patterns that are coming out. One is Spoolish, which we did as a kit for Ansonia, And now I've done it slightly scaled up as a pattern. As with all my patterns, they're instructed to make from baby size up to a king size. The fat quarter bundle, which I'm so excited that, and you will see these when we turn the lights back on later, but all my pre-cut bundles are getting packaged with solids. So these are the coordinating solids from FreeSpirit designer solids that are packaged with the Franklin pre-cuts. So there's the 10-inch charm, 5-inch charm, design roll, and fat quarter bundle, and they have varying numbers. Some of the colors, solid colors, are duplicated to round out to the bundle size. So Franklin ships early 2015, and my solids, of course, are included. As I mentioned in the bundle, we have this juicy Modern Solids box. I don't know if you've had it in your shops yet. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Modern Solids Challenge. I have this other pattern, which is called A Different Stripe. And one thing, when I started quilting, I made everything improvisationally. And when I wrote my first book back in 2005, the publisher wanted patterns for everything. So it was kind of contrary to how I was making things, and I found it a little bit confusing. And now that we've come so far, it's almost 10 years later, everybody knows how to improvise. So for the first time, I'm writing this pattern in two ways. One, with measurements to cut straight strips, and two, to improvise it. And I made my sample really fast from the fat quarter box. So the box will make up to a king size quilt in a different stripe. I cut like 1 or 2 stripes from every color with scissors, not using a ruler, and just sewed them together in those sets, and then sashed them with the mist color, which is that beautiful off-white, and it goes together so fast. Like I said, it's amazing. I thought it would be really time-consuming, but it's not. So it's a great project, even for beginners, to learn improv, and uses all the colors in the fat quarter box. And new, it's available now, is the 100-piece Modern Solids Charm Pack, which has, again, all those colors. This is courtesy of Pearl Soho. And the pattern that I designed a pattern last spring called Big Charming, and this has been one of my best-selling patterns. I can't believe how it's flying out of the studio. And now we have this charm pack that is the right size for this pattern. This uses 64 colors, but with the sham, you can use all 75 colors. And with the 100 pieces in the charm pack, you can easily make up to a king size with a sham with the charm pack. And the background color is mist. So recently, this summer, FreeSpirit put together the Modern Solids Traditional Inspiration Quilt Challenge. And we selected a group of quilt bloggers to participate, and sent them all one of the Modern Solids box, and challenged them to make a 60-inch square quilt that, like my second book, talked about traditional patterns and how we can translate that into a more modern sensibility. And as you can see, these are all the quilts, and they're just phenomenal. So all of these quilts are going to be available as a trunk show starting in March and running through July. The sign-up runs until the end of January, so you have until January 31st. And the winner of the challenge was John Adams, whose quilt is on display in the FreeSpirit booth. And I think you can see the sort of level of creativity and craftsmanship and originality. I was blown away by what everybody did, how they photographed their work, and I think it's a great way to showcase the solids and celebrate the creativity of everyone out there who's creating quilts and talking about it. And so I think, there's a few books that I've been involved with. I wrote a chapter about my improvisational workshops for Lucky Spool's Essential Guide to Modern Quilt Making. And this is a reissue of Robert Shaw's amazing American Quilts book, which sort of covers the history of quilt making in this country, and it's quite an amazing book, and I'm very honored to be a part of this book. And then I wrote an essay for Roderick Kiricoffey's Unconventional and Unexpected, which is shipping now, and if you haven't seen this book, you have to check it out, because I think it's going to be a huge influence on quilt makers, young, old. It's quilts that he's collected from the late 20th century, 1950 to 2000, and they're just spectacular. Check that book out, and we can turn up the lights. Thank you. At the FreeSpirit booth, you'll find a sheet about the challenge trunk show, so you can get information at the booth about how to sign up for that. And all those quilts are manageable size to have on display, and this perfect eye candy. You can come up and take a look at it. If you get them, you make sure to get an extra one for yourself just to leave in the box, because it's really hard to take apart. And the Modern Solids charm pack, and again the pre-cuts for Franklin, this with the solids in it. It's just amazing. And the spoolish pattern that I did, what's exciting for me about having the solids in the pre-cuts, I always design all my patterns that you can make them from a fat quarter bundle up to a king size, plus the background fabric. So one fat quarter pre-cut bundle will make any size up to a king, and now that they're packaged with the solids, I can do designs that are sort of more true to my aesthetic. Design roll and the 10-inch charm pack, and we've also, FreeSpirit has redone my square dance pattern with the Shelburne with the Franklin 10-inch pre-cut, and that's also in the booth. And that pattern is, I'm going to get a new photograph and put it on the website, but that pattern is available free as a download on my website. These are the headers for Franklin. This is it's sort of a stripe and a floral at the same time. This beautiful, subtle floral. I forgot I had the cap sets. I love this giant dot. And this comes in 3 colorways. Everything comes in 3 colors. A nice low volume calico, nice textural color on color stripe, multicolor stripe. This is my favorite, the zigzag dash. A nice textural flag. The big dot, I keep thinking about that. And beautiful geometric. This great giant fern, which makes me think of the libraries and the fabric they might have had on the furniture. And it's actually my dad's plaid, but it's for my mom. Thank you.